Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Every Second Counts podcast with Matt and Tom. Currently, Matt's out on location. He has a real life doing real things. So it's me, the Lonely Man Band, by myself, but I am joined tonight, and I'm actually excited about it. I just don't have anyone on my podcast. I just don't talk to anyone. But I have an author, an Army veteran, a mother. She's something with big Texas looking cows, steers. So before I even get into it, I'd like to welcome to the podcast Miss Betsy Ross. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me,
Oh,
finally.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. You see what the problem was. I was like, you know what? Before I wanted to get you on and scheduled, I was like, this will give me pressure to read the book because I got a whole gang of books that I bought and only a couple get read. You know what I mean? You get motivated one day and then you're like, I'm gonna read that book. So I
I
didn't want
get
that
it.
I didn't want it to happen. So I read it, and it's not a long read per se, but the how you have it with the words in the pages, like long form. Is that what would that be called?
I'm not sure. I mean, I purposely wrote it short the way it was, but
Oh, no, I'm
um,
talking like how you have it, the format
broken up.
of the
Yeah.
wording. You know what I mean? It seemed intense at the size of the book, but I'll tell you what, it kept you engaged.
That's good.
So what what are you doing currently right now as an author?
As an author, I have, I guess, a lot of other works in progress with different types of books now. Um, but the fight series, even though it's technically done, I'm still pushing the fight mission, which is beyond just the books themselves. It is pushing that PTSD awareness, the awareness of just veterans in general, just the daily acts of life. I mean, everyone's affected by it, not just veterans, but I just chose to focus on veterans because I am a veteran and I struggled. And I knew a lot of veterans would struggle as they transitioned out of the military as well. So I definitely use that, I guess, selfishly to keep in contact with veterans and staying, I guess, through my own self journey that, anything is possible if you just continue to lead like you used to uh, have that camaraderie again and have each other's back again. So that's really where I push just the fight series and fight mission. It's more than just a book series.
Do you feel that camaraderie is for me, I think that's the number one thing that's missed because when you get out of whatever branch, you're always excited about it. And I mean, I wouldn't want to go back. Trust me, I'm good. But it's that those conversations, those smoke pit conversations, those rushes, those formations, those little things that suck that you enjoyed with the company of those around you. I think that's what I miss the most because that then without that, it's just pure isolation.
Yep, I would agree. I strongly agree.
And when I mean pure isolation is you could meet new people, but people like me, I don't want to meet new people. But that's my thing. You know what I mean? Each people have their own thing. But one thing I do want to bring up, we're going to be all over, so you just might as well get used to that right now. We're going to bounce back and
Having
forth.
it. It's okay.
But with the hero stock um 2 weeks ago now. I think that was a test for me personally to meet a bunch of people that I've never met before and it not be it I don't volunteer for it, you know what I mean? I live in a small town now in the middle of nowhere, and I only really see the people I work with or I live
Yeah.
with, or, like, I don't see too many new people. So to go there, that was a test.
It would be for me too, but I'm still excited for next year.
Have you had any situations since you gotten out of the army to where you something you while you were still in the army, say you were going to a concert, or you're going to the mall, or out to dinner, was there anything maybe in your daily life that was cool while you were still in, and then as soon as you got out, there was a change?
While I was still in, I guess it didn't bug me as much as I was in, like, to go to a store or
Mhm,
just whatever. It was kind of, I guess, just whatever. I mean, I'm not a fan of people in general, but it's more of, I don't know. I guess it never really clicked with me until I got out and go, wow, I don't like being around people. I miss the camaraderie and the people I was with while in uniform, but for some reason, I don't know, understand fully the phenomenon. But once I got out, it was like, I think there was just so much pressure and everything within going inside of my head at the time where I wasn't there to be nice with anyone. I wasn't trying to make friends with anyone. It was more of a survival of just trying to make it the next day cuz I was couch surfing. So
mhm,
I didn't really, and I jumped into school thinking that'd be fun. It wasn't. Not really, but I mean it got me where I am today, um but looking back it sucked and it wasn't fun. But I'm also not near a military base, so I felt like there was, like, an instant disconnection with my chain of command. That wasn't their problem anymore. There wasn't anyone around me, and the few vets that are around me that kind of spoke with me because my truck had the in memory of all my fallen comrades, and
mhm,
so it would spark conversation, and then you would meet other veterans. But then it was like the more we spoke, it was like because of just where I wasn't there all the way. So I probably just looked weird or that I was just stolen valor or just like I was just weird. And I knew that. But I didn't know how to express it. I didn't know how to say I
mhm,
just got out, that I'm just going through a lot, that I just have a lot on my plate right now, that I'm couch surfing. I'm living out of my truck, but I didn't say that. So they didn't
mhm.
know. And so
But do you think it would've
it was just
mattered
hard even just to talk to veterans. Um,
personally, like, for
I probably would
yourself?
feel less judged.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
but it's sometimes, well, I
there
think
was just
it's
a lot.
mhm. I think, that's the hard space right there where you want that relief because 'cause you're, like, holding your breath, you wanna just tell people things, you wanna let them know, and then, well, once you're able to, you just wanna just, let them have all of it, but that's that vulnerability that you don't want other people to see either because there's a
Yeah,
weakness or, it's a flaw or you got a problem or judgment, so I think it's easier to not say anything in the beginning until because we all have, different emotions, and when we get out of situations, deployments, or, you lose someone, or when you get out, that's a whole lot going on, and it's kinda like you gotta sit back and just let settle in a little bit.
agreed. Agreed. Because even after I got out, I was still getting phone calls or messages that some of my friends that I served with had committed suicide. And so even away from it all, I still felt attached enough where I was going through my own problems and yet someone had committed suicide and I wasn't there.
Did
And
you
so there was
feel
so much
did you
pressure.
feel anything about that?
Oh,
Or it
absolutely.
was it people you worked with or people you knew? If that makes
Um,
sense.
Friends, I'd more call them friends because we were different companies, but it
Mhm,
was, and there were a couple. who committed suicide that were different brigades, but because of the barracks parties and because of just those mandatory fun days that you just happen to see each other in crossing. So we were technically acquaintances. We were friends. We drank together. They were more acquaintance like. If you were civilian, they'd be more acquaintance like. But when you're in the military, it just feels like that's a bond. That's an instant friendship right away. So, but that's
I
kind of
th- I,
hard
th-
to
I
describe.
I think the Army and the Marine Corps is a little different about that. About everyone hates everybody.
Oh, we
Everyone,
still hate each other for sure.
grills everyone. You stare at everyone. But I know what you mean. Everyone, if you're in that situation and you're with someone, no matter what you're dealing with, meaning if you're at work or you're at the range or you're deployed or you're doing workups, you're going through the same environment to where no one else in your life is doing that besides them. You know what I mean? No one else outside your work family per se, no one else is doing that. So no one can get it or understand it, I think.
I
What do
would
you think?
agree. I would agree. Though I was the gung ho type. I wanted to be cool with everyone. I wanted that camaraderie people always talked about. I wanted that family beyond environment where you could depend on anyone for anything. And I wanted that. So I think I was just the first person like, I'll be your friend. Let's hang out. Let's drink. Let's do this. Um, because I was one of the few people also who had a vehicle on post. So I'd help give rides. I'd help, in
Miss
that way.
Popular.
So I was not actually.
You had the
I
car,
was
you
squared
were
away. I was squared away until I got injured. Then I was a piece of shit. But whatever.
everyone turns into a shitbag.
I know. What is up with
I don't get it. So
that?
so what I'm getting is because I feel I feel like a trend, and I thought it was like a me thing, but how you just stated it, when you got out, the only thing you were doing things just to stay busy, but maybe you didn't know what you were doing, but psychologically you were just, I'm gonna go to school now, I'm gonna do this. So you just try to keep it going because if you sit still too long, then you're thinking too much, or you start overthinking, or memories creep up. I know I'm a prisoner of my own mind.
Me too.
So I think that's a thing when people are fresh out, there's that relief. There's like a relief of judgment. Like I can do what I want now. I mean, some people lose their damn minds, but you know, now you're out. Like, I've seen too many people too excited to get out, like, too excited, "Why'd you join?" But
Yeah.
they get out, and then, like you said, they don't have that camaraderie, that closeness, that relationship, and then everything, all bells and whistles are going off because they don't know what they're doing because they had erased their 4, 8 years, whatever, 12, whatever years they served. Now, if they didn't plan properly, and let's be honest, you can't plan properly. There's no planning. See, you thought I was gonna go the other way. There's no you can't properly plan because not that you don't have enough time, you don't have enough time.
Yeah.
You can't you know what I'm saying? Did you deal with
Oh.
anything like that? Getting out, just that sense itself?
I did to an extent because as I'm sure you and I may have spoke about and I know I have in other interviews regarding those um out processing classes, they do try to prepare you to find a job. They try to be there, motivate you to go to school. They try to be, take the smart route. They try. But what they didn't actually work for me. But like you said, you're only going to these classes, a few hours a day, 1 or 2 days, I think, is out processing for certain things, um, and then you have to, well, at least in the army, where you just sign out all these things I didn't even know existed on post, and then they kind of just you got your DD 42. I can't even talk now. DD 214, and that was it. Like you leave. but those classes like don't really do anything. They like, here, think about this. So your senses already overload. You're
Can I
thinking
ask you,
about what to do next.
let me ask you a question. How was it doing your final physical and everything in the army?
Ah, I can't remember what they actually call it, but it's yeah, you basically just have your appointment where you're talking to a doctor, and
Is
it's
it
only
your
one visit.
doctor?
Uh, I think I seen them once or twice before because of my injury. I'd already knew them.
Mhm.
Uh, but if it wasn't for the injury, I think that it wouldn't have been anyone who would have known me at
The
all.
rea the reason I ask is because 'cause we're talking about the process and getting out. Um, how weird was it when you went to that appointment and then when you walked out and your whole time in, they talk about when you're getting out? How weird was it, like, that wasn't even real? For me, it wasn't as real because I didn't understand the appointments, when you get out, go to see the civilian doctors, all this stuff. I didn't know any of that. So, they probably told you during the class and whatever, but I just think it was hard because 'cause you're trying to process it. Like you said, it's only a week, like, less than a week long, and a lot
Yeah.
of it's writing, elevator speeches, like and I was on, Carlisle Barracks, the Army college when I was retiring, and I'm retiring with colonels, people that only did, 4 or 5 years, and but we're getting the same class, but it's a completely different dynamic because
Mhm.
everyone on the left side of the room, let's say, they should be able to be good to go, but everyone on the right side, let's say, they only been thrown to the wolves for a little bit, and now you're trying to throw them back. So you're not properly preparing them as well as you did for everything else.
It's a very good point. It is scary. I don't think people realize just this. Sounds small. It sounds like you can just talk about going to college, talk about getting starting a career because you join the military, you have experience, and what? Because I mean, when you're in the military, yeah, you have an MOS or job, your job title, but you don't always just do your job. You do so much. So you're getting all this information being thrown at you. Like you said, it is only a few days long, and then you're out. So a few days time, you're still processing what is your next step. Okay, sure, you applied for this college. Okay, you did this and that, but you know, uh, you won't know what that first step is actually going to be like until you're going through it and you're going. Then it's like you let go of the wheel and you're like, I didn't sign up for this. I didn't want it. Get it away. I don't know what's going on. That's kind of how it was for me. But kind of like you said, when you're getting stuck, you don't want to sit still at the same. For me, I didn't want to sit still because I was overthinking everything. I was definitely overthinking everything because I was like, what if I go to school? What if I do this? No, I don't need to do that. But I was living out of my truck anyway, so it's like, what am I going to eat? I don't what's going on. So it was hard because I didn't want to be that veteran either. As far as like begging, hey, I need a meal. I served my country. Feel sorry for me. Let's go. I need a burger.
Oh,
I need something.
man.
So it's like I was stuck on so many sides of morality and ethical and everything else. So I was not in a good place.
Mhm. Could you talk to anybody at the VA when you got out? Do you think it was the opportunity was there, but the strength and courage to do it wasn't?
The only thing I really jumped to the VA for was for my injury, which they denied me
Mhm.
for anyway. But there was a time I finally talked myself into speaking with someone as far as making an appointment to speak with a counselor, but they told me I couldn't speak with anybody. I know now that's a lie and I could have probably pushed my way in, but I didn't know anything and I was so when I say things, it was kind of like Alice in Wonderland, like left was right, up was down. I know you've read Fight, and I'm sure you even remember all that, but it was like everything was backwards, reversed. Like I couldn't just talk. If people said yes, I thought they said no. It was like my brain could not comprehend breathing and talking at the same time. Like it was so I my brain was so overloaded with stress and uh, survival mode and school and exams and just trying to find myself again where I was nothing made sense. Life didn't make sense. My whole purpose was gone. My military experience was worthless. It was like I just didn't know why I was even alive. So again, I think that's what pushed me to try to make an appointment with the VA, but they said I wasn't medically discharged and therefore I wasn't allowed to talk to anybody. So that was my only attempt with trying to talk to the VA about
When when
mental health.
when we get off here, let me Imma holler at you about something. I got something for you for that. Um, so w why fight? Where does that come from as far as the situation? You're in a shit show situation. You're trying to figure out of the military life. You take it. Where do you muster all this? How long did it take you from when you got out? You know what I mean? Like, walk me through that
Yes.
journey.
Um, there was that dark time was probably about 3 years long. And then after that, I met my current husband now. We started a family. And then somewhere in that time frame is when I decided I really want to publish a book. I've always wanted to write a book. And then I was like, well, what would I write about? And then through everything I'd gone through and just going about life and me always thinking, I realized veterans don't really get talked about enough. At least I don't feel like it. Now I see all these new organizations. I'm like, well, fights means nothing now. But
No,
at the
no,
time, I didn't
no. I'm
hear
glad we're
about it. I didn't
talking.
know about it.
No, I'm glad we're talking because I see the posts and I'm like, you don't know yet.
Yes.
Meaning, like, no matter the effort, when you're in this social media battle and you're trying to do something right and you're trying to do something for good, you'll put all your energy into a post and get one fucking like.
Yeah.
Let's just keep it real. And you know what? Hopefully that one is the one that you made it for. You know what I'm saying? But that's the problem. There's so much, and there's people like my homie Jason Steiner, creator of Hero Stock. It's people like him that share every boom, boom, boom. Eric Mello, boom, boom, boom. They share everything, and I think everyone's sharing everyone else's shit in our little group. But I mean, outside, I think that's the only way, as you were saying, for veterans to get it, because it's just like the mom and pop shops. You're not gonna get it because everyone has to know. Everyone has to get in, and it's gonna be that word to mouth. I feel that's the only way because I feel wholeheartedly that only veterans will help veterans because, at many failed reels attempts in the past couple days, I came up with the concept. You'll never fully trust anyone if you're in a bad position or PTSD or TBI or anxiety, depression. You're never going to feel 100% trustworthy to anyone. And it's not no one's fault, but I think that's part of the game. What do you think about that?
It's a lot to take in. Um, I would probably agree. I mean, it really depends on the person, of course. But for me, I didn't like asking for help. But I was also in a very semi-abusive relationship when I had gotten out. Not the
Mhm.
marriage I'm in now, but a previous relationship. And so I was already belittled and gaslighted and feeling vulnerable and fragile and so I was already not in a very good place. So asking for help was absolutely not. I mean, even as a veteran, I was sticking to my morals where I would not use that card where, "Oh, well, I'm a veteran. Please give me money, give me food, give me, give me." I didn't want to be that veteran either. So it was it was it was hard for me, but I also self-sabotage. I was also, drinking very heavily. I was also, you know, basically purposely isolating myself because I didn't want other people to judge me. And it's like, well, I served my country. Why aren't you the badass that these movies are making you look like? Why are they, you're a woman, but you're supposed to be all big and tough. You're supposed to be able to handle anything. And it's like I wanted to do that. I'd be great, but emotionally and mentally I was lower than dirt is what it felt like.
Yeah.
So, it
Is that
was it was
is that
hard.
all you think that's self-inflicted because of the isolation?
I think part of it. I think it's a very for me, it's catch 22, where I felt like they tell you to do certain things like to get out more, talk more with other people. But when I did that, my anxiety is overloaded. And even with interviews, I'll get the deer in the headlight look and I'm like, okay, I'm panicking now. Okay. But even in normal real life conversation, my anxiety like glitches. It's like my brain glitches and I just stop talking. And then people are like, okay, she's weird. And they just walk away. And it's like I have no communication of what just happened. I couldn't explain it. Now through the fight series and talking with other people, I'm like, this is semi-normal-ish. So now I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm like, yes, I have issues. Yes, I'm socially awkward. And I will just stop talking in the middle of talking because my brain it literally just shuts off.
No,
And that's
that's
why
legit.
so I don't interview well. So I appreciate you having me on.
Well, I don't interview well as well. So the good thing is understand that I think the cool thing is you're in the group now and you're able to talk with more people and see that it's normalized. Your feelings, your thoughts, it's normalized, and I think that's the power of your book and things that all nonprofits are doing or veteran organizations that they're trying to do because I see it and I'm like, I'm not the guy to go. That's someone in a wheelchair or missing a wheel or missing an eye, they get to go hunting or they get to go do that stuff. And then, we do that self sabotage and it's like, you know what? No, I'm going. So I think once you stop caring what the narrative is supposed to be, for me, for myself, I just stopped caring. And it is what it is. Like, yeah, everyone, you're always gonna worry. But when you don't care, like for my purpose, what your purpose is, I feel for me, and I just wanna know if you agree with it, since I'm on a rambling tan tangent right now, I'll just say this, it's easy to do your posts, it's easy to promote fight, to talk about it, to do it because you were driven to do it.
I definitely was. I definitely was. That's why I appreciate that you actually had read it, because
Oh,
it's hard to
absolutely.
describe it. It's hard to describe it, and I can talk all day about it. I love it. I love reading, I mean, at least talking about it, but the book itself is unique. It's not meant to be just a, you know, entertainment type book. Can it be? Sure. But it was written in a very unique way where it had a purpose beyond just entertainment. Is
Mhm.
meant to spread that awareness about veterans and suicide awareness and mental health awareness and why PTSD needs to be talked about. That, even just the everyday life can trigger anything, anybody, and people don't realize what's really going on. And I mean, yes, we're just very misunderstood creatures, if you will, veterans. But no one wants to talk about it because we wanna be all badass, which is cool, we are, but we have our moments where we just need a moment, but we
No,
need that
I
understanding.
no, I agree with that, and I think when veterans start seeing it to be okay. I think it's a process to start that it's okay. I was fortunate enough. I was on recruiting duty for a long time, and I was always in the public per se, and so I was forced. So isolation's easy for me now. You know what I'm saying? It's easy, but I know how to turn it on. I could be out there talking, no problem. But to muster up that energy and strength, it there's a lot to do this. Like even to do this podcast, it's like it becomes a struggle sometimes just because you have that whole beginning, middle, and end conversation with yourself before you even did anything. You already lost before you did anything. And I think
Yep.
that's a problem that we deal with as well because it's so easy to win because in the military it's competitive. It's how you are as a person, meaning competitive as far as no one wants to be the fat soldier or the fat marine. You know what I'm saying? No one, everyone
Yeah.
wants to be their peak. That's why you joined to be. I'm not going to say it. I'll say everyone wants to be the best version of themselves or be, you know, everything they thought they would be when they joined. And I think a lot of
Agreed.
when you get out, you either realize that didn't happen or you matured from that and grew from that. And I think a lot of people when they get out, if they're still in that mindset, what did I accomplish? Do I have these boxes I still got to check in front of me? That then you're always going to be checking them.
It's very right.
What do you
I
think
get that.
about that?
I get that. I I would agree. I think I saw that. I'm pretty sure I saw it in myself too. So, because I didn't plan on being injured, I didn't plan on being a shitbag soldier or being on profile at times, and I didn't plan that. So,
I think that's the biggest problem too. I don't know if that's still the stigma. I don't know. I talk to all these people. I see all these silly things on the internet, and I don't know if it's still like that. Like if you could still just kick it. Because there's a difference. And I was thinking about this today, like I was saying earlier. There's a difference. There's a different racism in the military. There's meaning there's a togetherness. You could be how
yes,
you wanna be with no matter where you're from in the country or the world or the states, you just vibe. You could be from Maine and meet someone from Louisiana and just kick, you know what I mean? Just from different worlds. And I think once you get out and you're with local people and you don't see the magic that you saw in other people when you're localized.
that's very true too.
I just think, the hardest part of getting out is getting out because it's easy to stay in. People say that, and I don't mean that in a negative way. When I say it's easy to stay in, it's harder. The mentality of staying in is easier because your routine, what you do, your job, it becomes your lifestyle. And then when you gotta break it, you're not just getting out of the military, you're
Right.
changing your whole life structure. So there's a whole lot that has to get pushed back, you know what I'm saying?
It's very true. I don't think a lot of people realize that though. I wish that would be mentioned in the out processing process because people don't realize there really is kind of another unknown. Because, like you said, you're used to that structure, you know what to expect. Even if they move you to another brigade, I'd imagine you have an understanding of what that process is going to look like. Different people, but the process is pretty much the same. But when you get out, there's so many different variables involved with that. And because the civilians don't have the same mindset as veterans do, I see that in the corporate world big time. Because I think I'm the only veteran, and it makes me feel weird. So
I I I
uh,
wonder
I
I
definitely
wonder
see that.
sometimes. So I retired after 20 years, and when you're in that position, you can't ask anyone any questions because no one has retired yet that you still work with. And then everyone you talk to that, or it's the same thing when you're getting out. "How are the classes?" "Oh, they're bullshit." Or, "How's this?" And then you're in them, and then you go through that week and you're like, "Ah, this was," because I was freaking out. I was like, "I gotta do a resume, I gotta do this, I gotta do that," and I was sweating it. And then you're there for an hour and you're like, "Yeah, this is 5 minutes up here. This is the VA class. This is the most important class you're gonna get all week. Write everything down." Roger
Yep.
that. Roger that. So I don't get a book, the most important thing I need to know, and you just tell me you're the fill-in. Roger that. Thank you. But I
Yeah.
think, that, and every time all the instructors I had, you should have saw when I got out. You got a punch in the face and they threw you off the base. You know what I mean? It was like they didn't teach me shit when I got out. And it was like, well, you just participated with not letting me know anything. You gave me a little bit more, but I think it's that process. You could do it up to 18 months. Like when I retired, you could do it almost 18 months out. I wouldn't remember half of that 3 months out.
Same. Same. It was a lot of information. I guess most of it was probably useless information for me, but yeah, no, even during that whole week, I probably couldn't repeat anything just because there was just so much information thrown at you. And they kind of just they had to quickly go to the next thing. I did get a lot of push on contract work. They really pushing that. So there was like they talked about that a lot, and then they jumped to another subject, and then they jumped to the another subject, maybe resume stuff. Then they jumped to, well, here's this university. This person's here to talk to you about this university, which is a local university, and I wasn't the local at that post. I went back home. But so it was like, this is useless. I mean, yeah, I wrote things down, but at the end of the day, I was so lost. I didn't know where I was going, and I was like, okay, we're throwing all this away because I don't know what to do. Just blank slate.
No, I'm a pack rat. I was, when I was building my recording studio, obviously, I was going through a lot of the VA books and stuff that they gave me. Never cracked them, never looked at them, telephone book stuff, and I was just like, how do I make it? How do I survive not knowing what was in these books?" And I think it's the process, like you said, you're not getting out to where you're local. Like, in the Marine Corps, if you were on the East Coast, you went to Lejeune. Because I was on recruiting duty, I was able to be on an Army base, so, that was the closest base, but everyone else, if I was just in regular, I would've went to North Carolina. The world went there, everyone went there, and it's like, well, I'm not retiring there. I'm not going to college there. I'm not looking for a job there. You know what I mean? And I think that's
Yeah.
that, like, as you brought that up, that's a big point, and there's no, if you don't have enough days on the books, you don't get that extra leave or that terminal, and then it's like, well, there's not enough time. There's such a push, I think, to get out once you're eligible to get out. There's such a push to, once you get out, you're like, "Wait a minute. I always had someone help me do this." There was a building for people to answer these questions. You know what I mean? And then suddenly you're lost in the dark.
I may have had people who could have helped me, but I think I was just so lost where I was just because I was I was being chaptered out. I kind of got talked into, but I accepted it as, I was injured, no good. My unit was deploying, so they had to chapter me out. And so I kind of felt pushed out. So I think I was already bummed that I felt like I failed. You join the army to do this and that, and I end up just being injured. And now I'm not being medically discharged, I'm being chaptered out, which sounds bad. Mostly chapters have to do with negative things. But in this case, it was, we're deploying in 3 months. You have got to get out so we can get able bodies in here.
It was just
And
the
so I was
enlistment code.
already bummed.
What was it, RE4? RE3, RE4?
I don't remember my code, but I think R something. Uh, I mean, it was medical related, but it was still very. I think I was just bummed about that. So even going through that process about processing, I was like,
You're
I
not
don't care.
you're
Uncle
not
Sam
there.
hates me. I hate me, and I'm. I felt washed out. Like I went from super gung ho to nobody. Like I didn't do anything cool. I didn't do anything fantastic. I have no story to tell. This is BS, scam, just bullshit. So I was already bummed about that, and then of course just being in a very bad relationship, and then it was just nothing good going for me, and so it was. I think going out, getting out. I think I was just like, yeah, I want to go to school. I was definitely tested on that, but after that, it was like I don't care where I end up.
And I think that's hard. That's hard to recover from when you're going from an institution that you're meaning institution as the army where you have all these carrying arms, and then your home life was a shit show per se. I'll just say that, and then you're trying
Mhm.
to, you're getting out, you're getting pushed out, and now it's like, what was the point of all this? It was a lot of wasted time and energy, and I think it's powerful to realize that that it's not, because if you didn't go through that, you wouldn't be able to write these books. You wouldn't be
I think
able
that's
to
the only thing
for
that saved me. That's
I
probably the only
mean,
reason I'm still alive right now.
no, I believe that wholeheartedly, that if when I said this 1,000 times, veterans are the only people that could save veterans. Because you're only enough in the mind space to at least understand it cognitively. Look at that, using college words. But, you wanna break that out to where someone they understand, like, you were in the army, you might say some BDU weird shit to me, but I don't use that terminology, but I know what you're talking about, you know what I mean? And I think that's what you were saying earlier, where we all just kinda connect no matter what, because of the situation you're in. And then when you get out and you're just there, how did fight come to you?
Fight Fight was I think there was just an initial where I wanted to write something, and then it was, we need to write about veterans. So I know veterans, kinda, and, then I started realizing people don't talk about just the days in and out of just life because of
Mhm.
my own struggle, and so I was like, "I don't hear enough people talk about this," and so I just sort of formulated different characters of different backgrounds, and I started more or less interviewing other veterans. Of course, my husband is also infantry and he knows people and he still has some connections with the inside world, if you will. So
Mhm.
there were people able to talk to me and give me some insight on things. And I wanted to make it as realistic as possible. So I needed their feedback, but even though it's fiction. So I did get some insight on that. But I started with just fight. It was meant to just be one book. It wasn't meant to be a series, but I wanted to put as much of that initial getting home out of the military and what people don't talk about, because I was trying to explain certain things to my family who are Air Force, but they weren't understanding why I was just being distant, why I didn't want to just talk about the military, and yet I was, they spoke some things and I would just be like just vomiting of just different jargon and stuff. I was like, I wanted to talk about the military, but I didn't want to talk about the military. And it was like I was caught in between, but no one was understanding. And it was just those little things where I'm like, I can't make friends. My family don't understand me. And I started losing connection of everybody, even veterans. So I started just formulating a way. How can I express different things to fellow veterans, um, but also help myself through my own insanity, if you will. Like it didn't make sense. And then fight two was kind of brought up
Hold on,
because they
hold
say
on,
there's
hold
so
on,
many
hold
different
on.
things.
Don't jump over it. I ain't on fight 2 yet. Don't worry. I don't wanna jump there yet. I want you to be
I
able to talk
wouldn't. I
about it,
wouldn't.
but I had a quick question about it. Now,
Yeah.
the interesting part about fight, um, was the flashbacks. For those that haven't read it yet, for those that are gonna read it, I found that to be interesting because I'm not the most coherent, you know what I'm saying? So reading it, I understood it once I got a little more into it and the story was feeding it, you saw that you I don't wanna, put it out there for everyone, but it all weaved together and wove together, and it made more sense, and they were all and regardless of the metaphor that I got out of it could be placed in any time, any situation of anyone that served because of that. Because no ma everyone's gonna deal with PTSD, the symptoms. But your reaction, your perspective, and how you're dealing with it is gonna be completely different from someone else. But
Mhm.
if I'm wearing, um, camis and you're wearing camis, we get it, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? And
It does.
a lot of other people won't see it that way, they won't get it, but I think the problem is it's their perspective. And along with my journey itself, the more I see things, I overthink it, and I have these conversations with myself because 'cause I'm a loon, but other people that you may talk to don't have the same perspective, and I think that conversation is the biggest key. Because when you explain if someone says something to you, how you perceive it and how they meant it can mean 2 different things, but if
Yes.
you're off the wrong thing, that relationship is on that wrong path. Because of the perception, and I think that happens a lot with people
Agreed.
getting out because like you said, you can't make them understand the emotion, the feeling, or, how things are playing out for you mentally. You can't
Yeah.
draw that, write it out, or explain it.
Agreed.
So, I didn't know if you were gonna say anything else, but no, so
Yeah.
I think that the powerful part about reading this, fight was the the perspective of different people throughout the book and the different things that they had to go through and different obstacles of every day, similar but different, and how they had to navigate on a daily basis, and I think it painted a good picture. I think, I read it like, a movie kinda format, like, I could you
Mhm.
did a good job descriptively, and like I said, I'm not an English teacher, but I was able to paint that picture while reading it, and it made sense to me. 'Cause I made it the story how I saw it, and it made a lot of
Mhm.
sense in the details, and what they were dealing with was, for veterans, very easy to understand. If you've been to
That was
sick hall or a VA hospital, it's very easy to understand, and I think the maturity of people that read it, and when they read it, that you'll wanna get the next book to see how it works out because I think it's the storyline of it is so powerful with the PTSD message, the effects on the individual on a daily basis, and their relationships with their families and certain things. I think that is something that's ignored because I've heard this multiple times. You're always happier when you're talking to them, or you're always happier doing this, and it's like, yeah, I don't know, I don't control it, but it's those, that's that I think it's the serotonin that, that's that you're just excited and being happy to be around those people and it gets you going. I think it's an emotional thing. And I think that's why Hero Stock was so badass because no matter, you know what I'm saying? No matter what, you missed it,
I know.
but no matter the situation, it was cool just being able to break that bread, and, yeah, I think it broke down a lot of people's walls. I'm not gonna talk for no one, I'll only talk for myself, but I think it was good icebreaker on the test of being able to just meet people and go out there and do it and not think twice about it. I didn't see anyone backing away or worry. I think it only formed relationships. What was Brian got to
That's
say?
exciting. Yeah. Yeah, I get jealous every time y'all talk about it.
No, no, and I'll tell you what, it was weird because I told the story before. I might have told you, but the thing with me was I went out to do a ultra run to watch one in June with people I know, people I maybe met once or twice, and when I got there, it was like it was a different situation. I wasn't cool, calm, and collective. It was wild. Like I was standing there by myself, freaking out, like because I didn't really know these people, but I knew them, and they're great people. But I'm the weirdo, like I am. So like it was weird. I probably made the whole situation weird for everyone, but when I went to Hero Stock, I didn't have that. So I think that to me, that was the big part that really changed things because I think having that outlet as you write these books, that's an outlet to be able to grow and find new emotions in a every day to where you could push yourself to grow. What do you think?
I would strongly agree. Uh, that makes my day that you were able to get everything I intended in that story as far as the backstories and everything they do wove together. That's and it is kind of, I guess, set up in a movie like way. Because even as I reread it, I'm like, yeah, I kind of did that. Um, but yeah, there's a lot I wanted to say, and I know that there's other veterans struggling, and I knew I wasn't alone. So I definitely used fight as my own outlet as well, because I felt like I was crazy. So I needed an outlet, and I had a lot to say. So throughout all my characters, I expressed a piece of myself, and it has helped me. And that's I've even had readers say that as the books go on, you can tell the characters are growing as well. So I
You
know
could
when I
you,
put myself in there,
you could tell
I'm growing.
if those that read the fight book, the whole series, all four books, or just the first one to start off with. If you go on Amazon, leave a review. When you see one, I didn't know you had to sign in, but it says Amazon verified customer or something. That's me. You'll see all these educated reviews, and then you'll know mine. My caveman answer, because I saw the other ones you posted, and I was like, "Jeez, great job,
It
everybody."
doesn't
I was like, these people actually they read it. They could give grammatic reviews. They could talk about sentence placement and periods. No, I couldn't care. I think the book, and I think you made a post about it before I even started reading about it. Like, if you see any grammatical issues or anything, and I was like, I ain't the one. Or someone could have put it, or someone. I think someone made a review, and I'm just like,
yeah.
really. And I think it's bad for you. I don't know why you want reviews for a book you wrote to get the pain out, and then you wanna get punched right in the face with
Oh my
people.
gosh.
You see what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Oh, it does. And I do need reviews. Reviews are very important, for, especially for self-published authors anyway, because I could talk about it all day and I can say it's great, but unless someone else says it, no one's going to believe me. Um, but I've had some pretty harsh reviews, very, very harsh reviews. But that was early on for sure. I even had fellow veterans who I'm going to say bashed me as for just talking about PTSD in the way I did. Um, they didn't like, I guess, that I don't know if they were just upset I was talking about it or what, or bringing certain things to light. Why are you talking about the military in this way? Why are you talking about suicide in this way? Um, I don't know. Yeah, starting off, I was really struggling, and So, when my own fellow veterans, were coming after me, I was like, well, then I really am a nobody. But it wasn't until I really started getting to know DV Radio and Bo and them and other veteran organizations who actually started having my back. That's when I was like, okay, all of you suck. There are veterans who are cool now. So,
Oh no.
and
Oh
that's when
no.
I started
I
really pushing
uh,
it again.
I gotta watch what I say about that because I you can't act like I don't want to say I'm in a victim state, but I think there's people I know that I worked with for a long time that don't support what I'm doing. Family. They're always gonna have, and I'm not saying me, I have all this family that doesn't like, but as we spoke before and said, not everyone got the jam. A lot of people don't wanna know about, you know what I'm saying? But I like the uniqueness of it and how raw it was because that's the only way it was made for veterans to read. Yes, everything if you're a first responder, yeah, I think the message overall could help a lot of people with mental health, but I think it's a great book for veterans because it's relatable. It's very relatable, and I normally read biographies, a lot of SEAL biographies, a lot of military books. I don't wanna sound like I'm important. Mainly a couple biographies, but the difference is it kept my interest because while you read it, you wanna see where the story goes, and if you deal with any factor or you served in the military, you get that sense of wanting to see how it plays out. If you were ever in that position where you worked with someone or you had to deal with someone, excuse me, that you maybe you came across in life, it's a good book to push out there. And I think the messaging is the problem because I think that's the life. The hard part is it's the first gem that you've written, but I don't think it's the last. I think if you put together a series, I think you could adapt it into to other series and other books, and then that's what's gonna shine. That's what I think because it's easy. How can I say it? It's not easy. It's easy to read to come across the books, read them, and then be like, all right, that was a good book series. But when you're hitting them, you know what I'm saying? You keep writing. So you put something out, what is the next journey? What are you jumping on next?
Well, I have one. Well, I'm hoping it'll be a novel. I've jumped on another one where it's called Fighting Me. And then I have other fictional, more entertainment type books started as well. But as far as mental health, Fighting Me would be the next one. Uh, I don't really know what to call it yet. I need beta readers big time because I don't know what to really call my work anymore because it's being self published. There's like I don't know, a decorum. I don't know if that's the word. Uh, etiquette. There's etiquette going on in the author community, especially self-published authors. And I don't even know how to describe my own work. I just want to write. Why? But when you self-publish it, you have to describe it, and then of course promoting it. And it's like I don't know.
Uh,
Same as
So
fight. Fight's fictional, but it's military related.
how did you what do you mean? Explain to me because I'm not there. Self-published. Like I know you wrote it, you
Yes.
self-published. I got that. But what does that mean? And I'll explain why after you give a great answer.
Um. Well, I go through Amazon, but I basically put in the search keywords. I'm the one who uploads the manuscript. I'm the one who puts together a cover, which I've created all my covers personally, but I will upload it into the program, if you will, that's self-publishes, puts together your work and do a book. And I am the one who's formatting it and uh, for the most part, at least in the beginning, I was the one editing it. I was doing all the legwork that a normal publisher would do for other
Mhm.
people. So that's what that means.
What about so that they print it as well?
They print it. And as soon as you order it through Amazon is when they will start printing it.
Oh, bet. All right. Yeah, because it made sense. I saw a date on somewhere and I was like, oh, yeah, July 9th, 2023. I was like, she just printed this out in her garage for me. That so no, I'm glad you
I'm not that well off, no.
I'm making hats, I'm making shirts, I'm making books.
Oh, I
No,
wish. I
no,
wish.
I'm glad. No, the reason I asked for that is maybe one day someone will listen to this podcast, and the reason I asked is that is such a tool. I don't know, there's probably 1,000 out there, but I think having the courage to write your own book and then self-publish it, self-promote it, you can't. I mean, as much as a failure you wanna look at yourself as, because it's not, New York Times top 10, but I'll tell you what, I didn't write a book yet. There's a lot of people that will never write a book, let alone a book series with plans to write other books, and I think that's good for people to see as far as, the personal growth that I could do that, and I think it's easy because veterans, like you said, it's easy, you all veterans, dog tags and capes and all this rhetoric bullshit, you gotta look this way or sound this way, or like you were saying, how you come across might not be the way other people wanna hear it or view it or see it, but when you just put it out in raw form, that takes a lot of courage, and I think that's great for other people to see because that could save someone's life. You said it helped save yours. I think seeing someone else do it is easier now for other people to wanna do it if they had it in the cards. Like me, I'm gonna write a book. It's about recruiting. It's called The Streets, but it wouldn't last long. It would probably get taken down immediately. So
Right.
if I wanna find out more about Betsy Ross, where can I look? Where can I go?
Um, well, for the books themselves, they are only on Amazon and Audible. At least the first two are on Audible. Fight 3 is being recorded. It's almost complete. Um, but
Do
as
you
far as just
record
general
that?
information, I did not. I probably should. People keep saying that, but I don't know if I could. Uh, but I guess I could. I guess I could. Um,
While you're making the
but
books?
yeah, might as well just record my own voice. I don't know. Like, I think I sound annoying. Every time I rewatch all my videos, especially on TikTok, I'm like, God, that's what I sound like. So I don't. I don't. But
Oh, trust me, I'm a huge introvert, and I don't like talking to people, and people are like, "Oh, you're always on Instagram." I don't like people, I don't like interacting. The goats and the dogs don't bother me too much. I'm out in the
yeah,
yard, it doesn't phase me. I think that's what people don't realize. It's easy when you're by yourself.
yeah, I agree.
S
um, but I do have my website also up is fightwithbetsyross.com. Um, that's general information, of course. So I'll post any events I get to go to. When I go to Hero Stock next year, that will be posted there. Any events I have, I go to, I'll be doing that too. Um, that's pretty much it for now as far as where to find it and any general information. I mean, obviously, there's Twitter or X, Facebook, Fight with Betsy Ross, Instagram. I think I'm under Betsy Ross Author on Instagram. And
so
then
the
I'm on
best
TikTok. I
places
keep forgetting I have TikTok now.
look at you out
I
there.
know. I know. Only
You
took 7 years. Yay, finally.
We're so excited for, Jason's, book review. That's what I'm excited
Yes,
about. He ordered
I'm
it
also
before
very excited.
me or after me. I would've just already listened to the books already, but I'm glad I'm
I would have
glad I'm
sent
mhm,
it. Yes,
that makes it
finally.
legit
Only
then.
took 7 years.
There it is. Someone finally says hello back in the darkness. So check it out. I appreciate you coming on. I will have you back on because I already ordered Fight 2, and I'm excited when I get that. I'm gonna read through that and have you back on, and I want to hear more about where the characters go and the outlook and what your plans are for doing what you're doing and further on. So check out Betsy Ross author on Instagram. You could just go on Facebook, type in Betsy Ross, on TikTok, and on X. Everywhere else, you go to her website. What was the website again for the people?
Fightwithbetsyross.com.
Go on there, order the series. You got the audio, you got the books, you got the hardcover. When's the hardcover coming?
Uh, I don't have a set date yet.
TBD,
I'm
the
trying to buy
hardcover.
time. I
So
know.
don't stand by. You could buy both. You can get the
Yes.
paper copy, and then when she drops the hardcover, go buy the hardcover. Probably get a signed
Yes.
edition. But be on the lookout. Fight, 4-book series, outstanding. Read it. It's a good book. It's been Every Second Counts. We're out of here.